On my last outing to Hobby Lobby, I found all kinds of fun and festive 4th of July decorations on sale. So they were 40% off. They had a lot of different things to choose from, and I saw these adorable popsicles, and I knew that I wanted to make some fun, patriotic popsicle projects. And of course, I also found a couple of other fun things that I could use in my DIY crafting. And right now is a really good time to get started making some new crafts for the 4th of July, or even if you just enjoy an Americana type of theme. And while there are some blank wood projects and different things that you can find at Hobby Lobby, sometimes even Dollar Tree, I have the tools at home, so I decided to see what I could make and use for some 4th of July crafts. I've got a lot of scrap wood, and I even used some different things that I had from Dollar Tree in my garage to use for my crafting. And this was one of the things that I made. This is a popsicle. Popsicles seem to be really popular for the 4th of July this year, and I wanted to see if I could do some crafts for myself using stuff that I already had, like this scrap wood. So what I did was cut out the wood and then sanded it down, and I wanted to make this look like the really popular red, white, and blue popsicles. I keep seeing those everywhere right now. I don't know about you. Have you noticed that there's a lot of these red, white, and blue popsicles in all types of crafts right now? Maybe it's just because I have them in my brain, but I really wanted to make some of these myself. I have seen some things like this on Etsy or even on Pinterest, which might have started me down this popsicle rabbit hole. But these were really easy to cut out, and actually they were really easy to paint too. All I did was use acrylic paint. So for the top of the popsicle, I did red. For the bottom of the popsicle, I did a navy blue. And of course, in the center, I did white. But I didn't use any tape or anything. I just used a straight edge paintbrush when I was painting the popsicles. And the popsicles I made, I wanted it to look like they had a bite taken out of them. That's why that red portion looks a little bit different than the rest of the popsicle. And the wood that I used was just scrap wood that I had, and I made a pattern that I could copy over and over again in case I really enjoyed making these. Now I know the Dollar Tree has some smaller popsicles, and you could use those too if you wanted to do something like this, or you could even use those popsicles as a pattern if you have a saw. Now the saw that I used is a scroll saw, and I found my scroll saw on shopgoodwill.com, and I got it shipped to my house for less than $25. Now once the red and the blue paint dried, then I came back with the white acrylic paint and just painted the center of each of the popsicles. I also painted the back because I want to have these really look like popsicles when I'm using them in my displays. And again, you can see I did not use any tape, but if you wanted to, you could use painter's tape or even washi tape to get a really nice, clean, crisp line. For myself, I wasn't too concerned if the line wasn't exactly straight. But I really do like that red, white, and blue together. I think it looks so pretty and perfect for the 4th of July. Now, once all my paint had dried, then I did come back with my hand sander, and I just sanded down on the edges of each of the popsicles. I didn't go all over the entire surface of the popsicles, just around the corners, just to take off a little bit of the paint. Now I did apply craft sticks to the bottom, but as you can see, they didn't really stay. I did try using E6000, but even with the E6000, they still bent and it wasn't what I wanted. So then I came back with my Dremel, and I just Dremeled out a little bit of a depression on the bottom of each of the popsicles. This way I can insert the craft stick, and that way it looks like it's a part of the project. And I think this gives it a little bit more of a realistic appearance and a little more finished. And the craft sticks that I'm using are the larger size craft stick. You can find these at Dollar Tree, but just keep in mind, these are the larger craft sticks. So then I just took some B7000 adhesive and I put that into that depression, and then I inserted the stick into that end. And then the hardest part, I needed to be patient and allow that glue to dry before I put it into my display. And I'm so happy to report that, yes, my patience paid off, and I think the popsicles look fantastic on my tiered tray. Well, this is kind of a giant tiered tray, but it works really well, especially if you have a lot of different crafts that you're creating, or if you have a lot of decorations for a certain holiday. This was something I really wanted to try, and I am so happy that I did. And I think these look so cute, and I love them for my 4th of July decorating. Now I wanted to make a sign that would go with my popsicles, so I took another piece of scrap wood and I painted it with white paint. And it's really funny, the paint that I'm using is from Sherwin-Williams. I bought a sample size when it was on sale for 40% off. So I can't remember how many ounces this is. It's pretty large and I got it for $7. I think this will last me a very long time in my crafting. I did get a couple of other colors too because it was such a good deal. Now, after I painted the sign for my popsicle stand, I decided I wanted to make another sign. So I have this tray that I got from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to paint everything white. So not on the inside, just on the outside. I painted all of the edges, or if I'm being technical, the bottom of it, I painted it white too. Now here are my two pieces all dry. So what I'm going to do now is come back with some navy paint, and this is just acrylic paint, and I'm going to paint all around the edges. I am painting all 4 sides with the navy paint. And I believe this paint is folk art, and I believe it's called Midnight Blue. And as I was painting it on, it wasn't quite the blue that I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be navy, but I was trying to get more of a Americana or kind of a primitive type of blue. But this blue just wasn't doing it for me. So once it was dry, I did come back with regular navy blue paint, and I painted all over the midnight blue paint that I had started with. Now for the popsicle sign, I did paint the back of it as well. The reason I did this is because this is going to be the back of it, and I want it to look like the sides. So the back and the sides are all the navy blue. But on that larger sign, there isn't a back to it, so I just painted the 4 sides. I did come back with a little bit of chalk paint on the smaller sign because I did get some of that navy blue onto the front. So I just wanted to make sure that this was perfectly white on the front for the popsicle stand sign that I'm making. And because I was kind of on a time crunch, I did come back with my heat gun and dry everything out. And when that was dry, I came back with some Mod Podge, and I'm going to be decoupaging my sign onto the background. So I used Mod Podge on both of these signs that I'm making because this works really well if you want to secure something to the front of it. It doesn't have to be wet. I'm actually going to let this dry because this is probably my favorite way to decoupage. Now for my popsicle stand sign, I'm going to be using this tiny little popsicle, and I was just trying to get the same look that I had on the popsicles that I made earlier. Now, this popsicle stand sign, I actually made this in Photoshop. I used different fonts and colors to make it be what I wanted it to be. Then I adjusted it to the sign of where I wanted it to be. Next, I took a Teflon sheet and put that over top of it. And then I used my mini heat press to secure the paper to my sign. So the Mod Podge is already dry, and the heat press will reactivate the Mod Podge. Then I just cut away the excess paper from my sign and sanded away the extra paper. I did a little bit of extra sanding all around the edges just to make sure there's no rough edges. And then I came back with spray Mod Podge and I sprayed that on top of my sign. This gives it a really shiny look, and it also really makes the ink pop out on the sign. Then I took my tiny popsicle and secured that to the front. And I also painted some tiny little stars, and I put those on either side of the stars and stripes. So now I have the stars and stripes popsicle stand. Look at how cute that is. Oh my gosh, this was so much fun to make. I really love how this turned out, and I think it looks really nice with my popsicle decoration. I can't believe that I was able to make this using Photoshop. It was so much fun. If you have Canva, I'm sure you could do something like this with Canva, but I don't have Canva, so I use Photoshop, and I think it turned out great. Now I got these pots at Dollar Tree and I want to turn this into a navy blue pot. So I'm going to use some navy blue chalk paint and I'm going to paint the entire thing. Everything needs to be blue on the pot. And I'm also going to paint the inside of the pot a little bit as well. And once the pot was dry, then I came back with some spray Mod Podge. This is the shiny spray, the glossy spray, and I sprayed the entire pot with that. Nice shiny finish. Next, I came back with some floral foam from Dollar Tree, and I just cut it down so that it will fit inside. I used a little bit of hot glue around the edges of the foam and then pushed it down inside. And then I did add a couple more pieces because I'm going to be taking these adorable popsicles that I got from Hobby Lobby and I'm going to just push them down inside. I want this to look like a bunch of popsicles sitting in ice. I think the red, white, and blue popsicles are my favorite. Do you have one of these that you like the best? Now I found these on Amazon and they're supposed to look like ice. I think they kind of look like ice. So I just put pieces of the ice into the pot, and on the places where it wouldn't really stay on its own, I did use a little bit of hot glue. One thing that I did notice when I used the hot glue, it changed the color of the ice a little bit so that it was white and not clear. But overall, I think that looks pretty cute. I'm pretty happy with that. But I did want to add a little something extra, so I came back with some ribbon and I used my hot glue gun to secure it in place. Then using the same ribbon, I made a bow. And I've seen people make bows like this, so I figured I would give it a try. I had a couple of loops of the ribbon. Then I just pulled the tie down to cinch everything nice and tight. Then I just cut up the excess ribbon and voila! Now I have an adorable bow that will go on the front of my pot of popsicles. That is so cute. This was another craft that was super easy to make and it was super fun. I think it looks fabulous on my tiered tray along with my other popsicle crafts, and I'm just really liking the popsicles right now. Now I wanted to have some beads to go with my patriotic decorations, so I wanted to make some red, white, and blue wooden beads. Yes, I know you can buy these, but I have all of these beads, so I figured I would use them, and I wanted to show you how I did this. I've seen where people like spray paint them on the skewers, but I decided I wanted to have these look really nice, so I hand painted each of the beads. I did 9 white, 9 red, and 9 blue beads. But the Dollar Tree skewers are perfect for keeping these beads in place while they're drying. And I used plain acrylic paint, so red, white, and blue acrylic paint. I did also have these smaller beads, and I put those onto another type of skewer that I had, and I used a little bit of antiquing wax to give them a stained look. And once all of the beads were dry, all I had to do was put them onto some jute twine so I can have my patriotic beads for my decorating. So I did a red, white, and blue bead, and then I used one of the smaller beads. So red, white, and blue, smaller bead, red, white, and blue, smaller bead, and I repeated the process until I had the entire strand done. And to make this easier, I have these large eye needles that make it very easy to thread the beads. Then I just tied a knot on the end. And I made some tassels out of jute twine. And then I took that ribbon that I've used for the other crafts, and I like that it has the stars and also the red and white stripes. So I cut the red and white stripes portion off so that I'm going to have 2 ribbons. Actually, I will have a red and white striped one, and then I will also have the blue ribbon with the stars. Then I took the ribbon and I put it on top of my tassels. I used a little bit of hot glue to secure it in place. First, I did it with the red and white ribbon. And then I did it with the blue ribbon. Then I took another piece of jute twine and I tied that around the top of my tassel. One extra thing that I did on the end of the tassels was I loosened up all of the jute. So I basically unwound all of the pieces so it gives it a really wavy look. And then I did sheet a little bit and secured the tassels with some hot glue. I know there are other ways that you can secure the tassels to the bead strand, but for me, this works just fine and I really like how it looks. In fact, I like how everything turned out. These were some really fun projects to make. And all of these projects are definitely beginner friendly. So if you're just getting into crafting, these are some really fun patriotic Americana type crafts that you can make really easily and really step up your decorating. Now you may not have a scroll saw to be able to cut out things like this, but you can find wood cutouts sometimes at Dollar Tree, sometimes at Hobby Lobby, and definitely online. I think it's a lot of fun to branch out, try something a little bit different, and really just see what you can come up with. I know that's what I like to do. If you've enjoyed this video, go ahead and click that subscribe button. And if you click the bell notification, you'll get an alert every time I have a new video coming out. And believe it or not, I have a lot of 4th of July and patriotic crafts that I want to share with you so that you can get ready for the 4th of July or just a few Americana accents to your decor. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, happy crafting!